All right, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody to our March OFR team meeting. I want to go ahead and thank everybody for taking the time to meet with us today. Really quick, we're going to go through some introductions, and then we'll go over our minutes from last month. We're going to set the agenda, and then we'll go through the data and our brainstorming section, and then any other business that we have at that point. So we'll go ahead and get started with introductions. My name is Jordan Crummett. I'm the public health educator and coordinator for the OFR team at Knox County Health Department. And I'll just go ahead and call you guys out as I see you on my screen. And then if you could just do a quick introduction, and then we'll get going. So Amy?
Amy Blinky, Substance Misuse Response Coordinator at the Knox County Health Department.
And Darinka?
Make sure I unmute, I'm sorry. Darinka Volusnik-Polcher, medical examiner, forensic pathologist, Regional Forensic Center, and the medical examiner for Knox and Anderson counties.
Thank you. Phil?
Bill Major, Knoxville Police Department, and I'm with the Appalachia-Haida Drug-Related Death Task Force.
Thank you. Brian?
Brian Wimbigler, pharmacist and assistant professor for the University of Tennessee College of Pharmacy.
Thanks. Candace?
Good afternoon, Candace Allen with the McNabb Center. I'm one of the senior directors over criminal justice and a new opioid co-response program that we'll be initiating.
Thank you. Karen?
Good afternoon, Karen Pershing, Executive Director of Metro Drug Coalition.
And Nicole?
Hi, Nicole Ogle, Sevier County Director of Alcohol and Drug Programs for Sevier County Mayor's Office and Executive Director of Sevier County Cares.
Thank you. Sam?
Good afternoon, Sam Lee, Knox County District Attorney's Office Chief Deputy.
Thank you. Greg?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Greg Roberts, the Tennessee Drug Intelligence Officer for Appalachia-Haida.
And Lauren?
Lauren Allard, the evaluation consultant with the OFR underneath the Bureau of Justice Assistance Award.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. Really quickly, I want to go through our approval of minutes from last month. So I sent out our minutes to all of you. Does anyone have any amendments or additions to the minutes? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Great. So the minutes are approved from last month. Next, we're going to go through the agenda. So for the rest of the meeting, we have our presentation of our analysis of data, our brainstorming and discussion section, and then we'll go over any other action items and other business, and then we will adjourn. Are there any other items that people want to add to the agenda today? Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
And a second, please.
Second.
Great. So the agenda is set. I just want to go over again that we are in open meeting format. So we are streaming this live right now. And as you can see, Nicole has joined us. Nicole is a guest from Sevier County. We can talk more about that later, but just so you all know, if you do have some questions or anything to say as the meeting goes through, feel free to unmute yourself and speak. And you can also use the chat function as well. So that's how we'll be communicating throughout the meeting. Again, just going over our case selection criteria. I know we've had these in the last couple slides, but I just wanted to reiterate that we are still using the age range of 25 to 44 for our subset of data. This month we have 5 cases. Again, this is the data that we've gone over before about our justification for choosing this. We have 5 cases this month, age ranging from 29 to 41. So we have 2 in the category of 25 to 30, 2 in the category of 30 to 35, and 1 from the ages of 40 to 45. So that's just some basic demographic information. Moving into the location. So as you can see, we have a split here. We have 2 from a hotel or motel, 2 from the decedent's residence, and 1 was located at a friend or acquaintance's residence. So that's the location of the incident. And then you can see over here, we have that in our graphic as well. Moving into evidence of administration. You'll note here at the bottom that 2 cases had evidence of multiple routes of administration noted. So that's why you'll see the percent increase here. But we have evidence of snorting and sniffing, evidence of smoking, evidence of injection, evidence of ingestion, and then there was 1 case where there was no information on the route of administration. So we don't have any information on that one. Moving forward. This is substances at the scene. We have 3 with listed as other substances found at the scene, and then we have a couple others in our categories here. We have 1 prescription for the decedent, 2 notes of powder and packaging, so 2 each, and then 2 were noted with none at the scene. Just to further break that down, so again, we have 2 of none. 1 case there was 1 substance present, and at 2 of the scenes there were multiple substances present. Moving into toxicology results. So we have a bit of a different format here today. This is the standard format we've been looking at on this slide. So it just shows you the overall count of the toxicology information. As you can see, we have quite a few different things listed here, but we have higher counts of fentanyl in this batch of cases, as well as anything listed in the other category as well. But what I've gone ahead and done, in order to break this down even further, I have listed it by case. So this is by case number. We're not revealing any sort of identifying information with these, but I have listed all of the categories that are listed on the toxicology report in our data system, and then I've gone ahead and checked off what was present in each of these cases. So we can kind of get a further breakdown of what we're looking at case by case without revealing anything too personal. And we don't have any brand names of prescriptions or any sort of prescription specific information in order to protect that privacy as well. So this is toxicology results for case 5. As you can see, we have fentanyl present, amphetamines, methamphetamines, and opioids were also present. In case 6, we're looking at marijuana, cocaine, fentanyl. There was naloxone listed in this toxicology report, and I do have the naloxone information listed later on. So we'll go over that as well, but that was listed here. For case 7, we're looking at amphetamine, cocaine, fentanyl, methamphetamine, and opioids. Case 8, we have fentanyl again, as well as opioids. And then case 9, we have amphetamine and methamphetamine. So I've kind of drafted this new format for these slides. We can kind of discuss this a bit more later if you guys have any more suggestions on other ways we can break this information down, but wanted to go ahead and give this information now, and then we can discuss it later. So moving past that into our bystander portion, we have 3 cases where 1 bystander was present, and then we have 2 cases where no bystanders were noted. Of those 3, 1 was listed as a roommate, 1 was listed as a friend, and 1 being listed as an intimate partner. Moving forward, we have the naloxone information. So this is for the 1 case that was noted earlier. This was the only case, I'm sorry about that. It should be 4 out of 5 said no, and 1 out of 5 was yes. I'll make sure to correct that when I send these out. For the 1 case where naloxone was administered, it was administered by EMS, and that was en route to an emergency department. And there were 2 doses given in that case. Moving into mental health history, we had 1 case where the decedent was known to have a history of mental health problems or diagnoses, and that is excluding substance use disorder. And then we had no cases that noted any sort of suicidal ideations, plans, or attempts in any of these cases. As far as substance use disorder, all of these cases had a known history of substance use disorder diagnosis noted in their record. And of that, the substances they were known to have a history of using were alcohol, marijuana, nicotine, and then listed in the other category. So just a further breakdown of that, you can see in 1 of these cases, it was listed as nicotine only. 2 of these cases were noted for polysubstance use, and 2 of them were noted to have an unknown substance use history. So that's just where it's noted that they have a history of substance use disorder, but I don't have any further information on what kinds of substances they were noted to be using. So moving into co-occurring disorders, we had one case with co-occurring substance use disorder and mental health diagnosis, and then the other 4 were only noted with substance use disorder. And then moving into criminal justice history, we had 4 cases with no known criminal justice history and 1 case where there was a noted arrest and incarceration period. So the 2 that you're seeing are for 1 case. And I have that noted at the bottom. Justice system involvement 14 days prior to death, there was no noted interaction on any of these cases. Okay, so moving into our gaps in data, I've highlighted these 2 sections because I have actually been talking with a couple different data sources and people who collect data and distribute data, trying to recruit a couple more members to our team, or perhaps just gather some more aggregate information for our team to utilize. My hope with that is that we can get some more widespread perspective on our county as a whole, people experiencing substance use disorder, and other co-occurring issues, whether that be economic issues, housing, anything of the sort. So I'm in talks with a couple different sources of data. That's kind of a slow moving process, as I'm sure all of you can imagine, getting into contact with all these people. But I'm hoping that in the next couple months, we'll have a larger data set for me to look at that I can get more information on. So that's a big positive. I'm very happy about that. We are still looking for some more areas of data. So if any of you have any information on places where we can gather data, or if you have any movement on your end as far as data sharing agreements goes, please feel free to reach out to me. I know that we've been in talks with a couple different organizations about updating some of our processes in order to make sure that everything is being compliant on both ends. So if you do need anything, please let me know. So that concludes our data section. We're in the brainstorming and discussion section. The last thing that I wanted to note is to welcome Nicole to our meeting this month. Nicole is from Sevier County, and they are exploring the option of starting an overdose fatality review team in their county. She wanted to come and observe and see what we're doing and take some of that information back to her county. So welcome, Nicole. If you have any sort of questions or information you want from us, please feel free to speak up and ask as we go through. But does anyone else have anything to mention during our portion right now? Anything about the data this month or anything moving forward?
I just have a question that maybe Darinka can answer for me. Several of them had the 4A and PP metabolite in there. And I guess, Darinka, what I'm asking is that a metabolite or is that a precursor that you guys are finding? Because I know it's a metabolite for several opioids, but it's also somewhat of a contaminant, or not. It's not what they're going for in the fentanyl products. So where I'm going with this, are we seeing more homegrown or illicit production of fentanyl, or is this still relatively pure? Darinka's very still.
Yes. Oh, I think we might. Let me see. Oh, she's back in now. Okay. Let's see. We might have lost her for the moment. Hi, Darinka, can you hear us?
I'm sorry, we lost electricity.
Oh, you're good.
So it took a while to, so I missed what Brian actually had to ask and what the answer was. I'm sorry.
Darinka, I was just asking it's the metabolite, the 4-ANPP, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
For fentanyl. Are you seeing that as a metabolite of other fentanyl products, or is that just an adulterant or precursor that's in there? Is it a true metabolite, or is it just an adulterant?
Yeah, actually, it's a precursor and it's metabolite. So actually, it's both, but only in a clandestine lab or illegal fentanyl. We never see it with the legit fentanyl purchased through the pharmacy, whether it's lollipop, whether it's patch or any other form. So yeah, that actually compound means that it's illegal. Because
Okay,
they
that's
just
basically what I
cannot,
was getting at.
yeah, it's used as a precursor. They cannot really purify it well, and also breaks down into, among other things, into that particular compound. So that's
Okay,
how we
thank
know
you.
that it's illicit. And I also had one more comment on one of the cases that also had that relatively novel parafluorofentanyl. I'll most likely have to update you on that particular case because I noticed when I was reviewing it that there is codeine and morphine, and they're found together. It usually means that comes from heroin. So what I actually requested, I should have done it sooner, but I requested today, and I can then follow up with you. I'll requested the 6-mem, which is a metabolite of heroin that it's not shared with any other compound. And if that's positive in urine or vitreous fluid, then it's going to be definitely a definitive conclusion that this morphine and codeine actually came from heroin, which is kind of important when you do investigation. You want to know that exact kind of mixture of substances. And since I have your attention, I just have one more comment. I know as far as the medical records, we made a push to access all the medical records that are available from all the local hospitals. Now, we cannot share medical records with the third party,
Right.
but at least we can direct you where to look for and what kind of information to look for if search comes back with some significant medical history. And then as far as the economic, educational, employment information, that's all in the death certificate. So now death certificates are not public record, unlike our reports.
Right.
But we do upload them, and I'm sure working with the Department of Health and having vital records there, that I'm sure that you can get that information from the final death certificate, because it has everything, the degree that this person accomplished and what was the last actually job they held, and pretty much from that you can kind of conclude on the economic status. And some of that also can come from our scene investigation, obviously. So, and that's something that we can discuss because I'm not sure, to be honest with you, I'm not sure how much information you can gain or access right now from us.
Right. Yeah, Chris normally just sends over like the main folder of documents. So
Oh, okay. So yeah, so we can talk about actually you accessing information as far as this particular meeting. Of course, non-disclosure and all the other stuff, we can deal with that. But you can gain a lot of that information from our records.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Darinka. Brian, I know you were discussing via email about incarceration information, about a timeline. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I just noticed in one of the cases that the person was incarcerated. I found that out through some CSMD data, just from where it was dispensed from. So that gave me a tip that, they were incarcerated. But what I'm getting at here is it'd be nice to know the time frame between when they were released and when they passed away, because we know that, periods of prolonged abstinence, they're really at increased risk for returning to use and overdosing after those long periods. So, the time frame between when they were incarcerated and when they had their overdose event, I think would be helpful to, in terms of this group going upstream, maybe having some additional touch points with that person, whether they're on parole or whatever it might be, to make sure that they're in a good place, or at least follow up with them a little closer in that period when they might be at increased risk for overdose.
Right. Phil, I don't know if you have any sort of like more insight or information on any of that.
Me specifically?
Phil, I don't know.
might.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sam, would you have access to some of that data, or Phil?
I mean, as we move forward, and of course, we're still in the process of getting our data share signed off on. Once that happens, I mean, that's something we can look at and try to pull. I don't think that would be very difficult once once we become a part of it and begin to see the actual cases. I don't think that'd be an issue to get those last incarceration dates.
Is that a sort of trend that you've seen in the past as far as the proximity of release to risk?
Yeah, it's not an uncommon thing. I mean, we have seen that on several cases where either release from there or treatment facility, within just a few days. That has happened.
Yeah, I think that's more common than we'd like to see, and I think the naloxone data will be helpful in that realm as well, because you'll see the release and then subsequent naloxone deployment as well. I think, Brian, we can get some of that data, but you just got to realize it's going to be limited to Knox County too, so that's a scope issue.
Great. Does anyone have anything else? Any other aspects of the data this month that they want to discuss? Is there anything in particular that you guys have seen in the last 3 months that we've been reviewing that you feel is something that we need to be putting more focus on, or some sort of breakdown you guys would want to see of some of the information we're seeing? Is there any sort of like written materials that you all would maybe want something that for me to put together? Just anything in that realm as well.
Jordan, hi, this is Candace. I think it's a very interesting point, and I agree, as far as trying to follow people that we know that have been, using quite frequently, and then they're released from jail, and then we pay attention to maybe developing something, and, as far as services around that a little bit more strongly. It's the same thing when people, are released from inpatient for mental health issues. They're at high risk for suicide the next 30 days after that. And I've seen that happen, and play out also with people that, have addiction, or are addicted to drugs and alcohol as well. They'll be incarcerated for quite some time, and then they go out and use, right, like the next day, because, that, of course, that just hasn't changed that process. So I think that would be really something to look at as far as the data goes. I agree.
Great. Are there any sort of particular services that you all are aware of that are currently happening that maybe we could try to contact them about something that they're doing now, or anything that we can support them in as far as that goes?
Actually, I have a quick question. Speaking of the behavioral aspect of it all, as far as the origins, and then therapy and the rehabilitation. I know that everybody has been talking about the ACEs and that adverse childhood experiences. Is that going to be part of what you do, kind of link it all to the behavioral services, or it's just kind of, I'm just curious whether that's going to be at any point kind of target or subject of this review, and other aspects, especially socioeconomic kind of background of all these individuals we are reviewing.
Yeah.
Kind of, I guess through ongoing review, is the point actually looking at more of the different approaches and different methods, how to prevent it and treat it. And I'm just curious, are we going to kind of expand into more comprehensive sort of review, and how you're going to address that?
Yes, my goal as we move forward is to gather all that information. Unfortunately, right now, the way our data is set up, we don't have access to a lot of that information, but that infrastructure is there in our data collection system to collect that information. So if you look through some of our data guides, some of the questions that we answer are about childhood trauma, adult trauma, socioeconomic status is focused on in a couple questions in our data, educational issues or educational status. There are a lot of aspects to the data that we're looking at that we currently don't have a lot of data points on, which is why unfortunately we're not including them. My goal is that we can gather all that information and be able to connect our team with the right resources to gather that data and set up some sort of agreements with some local entities as well as larger data groups if that's a possibility as well. So I've been in the works with a couple groups that collect some of that information. If you all are aware of other data sets or other data systems that you feel would have that information on a local level that we could possibly have access to, that would be great. If you have any sort of leads on that, or if your group currently gathers data from a place where we could maybe contact them, see if we could set something up, that's something I'm definitely open to and would love to see happen. As far as what kind of focus the team takes, that's really up to you all. I know that a lot of the information we're looking at right now is kind of strictly from the incident report and from some strict medical history. But if you all want to flesh out some other topics or other ideas, I'm fully open to that. I think that the main goal of this group is to kind of look at what you all, the experts in our community, really want to see happen. Be able to utilize some of those suggestions and some of the brainstorming options we come up with here and be able to implement that and support current projects in the community. So whatever you guys want to focus on is something I'm very attuned with. So if there's ever like an aspect you want me to maybe pull some information on, whether it be aggregate from the state or from our county, if there's any sort of information I can access, I would really love to do that for you all. I do have the idea to possibly pull a report on some of the data we've looked at for the first quarter and be able to kind of pair that with some of the larger reports that Darinka and Chris's office are pulling. I know the RFC comes out with their yearly report and be able to kind of put those information together, our smaller data set as well as their larger, and be able to kind of compare if that's something you all would be open to. But if there's other things you all want to see, please speak up and let me know, and I would love to make that happen.
Jordan, are we currently receiving any information from the East Tennessee Health Information Network? Ethan?
Yes, I do have access to Ethan, and I have been accessing that and putting it into our records. I didn't have access right when we started, but I do now have access and have been inputting that information into our data system as well.
Okay, great.
So we do have that. It is a bit limited because not everyone reports into Ethan. So that's something not all care providers are reporting in there, but whatever information I can gather, I am pulling from there as well. A lot of that is emergency department information as well as like physician notes if anyone has never seen the Ethan network before. Anything else?
This is Karen. I just want to piggyback on what Darinka said. You know, my goal and desire, of course, I'm in primary prevention, is to really be able to take this information and truly go upstream. And so, yeah, it's one thing to, you know, prevent a death when someone already has a substance use disorder, but yet if we can glean from these cases, you know, some of those pathways that led them to develop a substance use disorder, and we can figure out some of those common metrics along that pathway, then I think we're really going to be able to impact our prevention work, primary prevention work, in a much more intentional way.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Karen. Does anyone else have anything to add on that? Okay. Any other thoughts on this month's information? I know we had 5 cases this month. I think the big thing that stood out to me was that all of these people did have a known substance use disorder history. That's not something we've seen in all of our other case data. We've always had a few mixes, but this one was every single person. So I think that's something interesting to know. I don't know if anyone else has looked at these cases that has any other points they want to bring up or any other information that they've seen that they want to discuss.
I've got a quick question. As to the determination that they have a known history, is part of that assessment based on them being given naloxone at some point in time?
That is noted from either the narrative report or any sort of medical history.
I'm not talking about like at the time of the incident. I'm talking about prior in their, while they were alive, like, 5 years before, 2 years before. Like, is there any analysis to see whether or not this person that is now dead was revived 3 times prior on naloxone administration?
I do not have access to all of that information. There is like some limited information in Ethan if it's in their previous medical history. If they were treated at a medical institution, that might be noted. And that's where I've gathered a lot of the information on their previous diagnosis of substance use disorder. That's also been pulled from narrative from either people that they live with or people close to them through the incident report. So that's where that information's been gathered so far. So it's a bit limited on their full history of whether they've accessed naloxone services, whether they've utilized them in the past. So that's definitely something to look at, but I don't know exactly how we would gather all of that information. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that.
Well, my main thought on that would be is to, since we're operating on a de-identified basis, is to cross-reference them through the information that the health department has on deployment data.
Yeah, because Karen and Sam, from the harm reduction coalition meetings, we get that aggregate data from Roberta from the health department. So we could theoretically cross-reference, I would assume, our patients with naloxone deployments.
Okay.
Yes, because she does get the identified information from the first responders, and she de-identifies it in the reports that gets to us, but she should have that identifying information.
Okay. Well, that is good. I'll definitely reach out to her and see what they can provide. I'd love to have her, Bert, join us at the table here too, if she has some thoughts or information for us as well. So I'll reach out to her after our meeting today and see what I can gather from that end. So thank you guys for that.
I have just one more quick comment, if you don't mind. It was a couple of months ago, we met with a team from UT Medical Center, and I'm not sure if you had a contact with them. Their medical director is Julia Richards Van Zyl.
Okay.
And the point of their sort of, I guess it's called the medical, she's the medical director of the patient care pathways.
Okay.
And the I think it will be a good group to kind of connect with, because they're trying to follow their patients that they took care of and kind of the help detox and then release in the community to kind of help them find better sort of follow-up treatments and groups to connect with. And they're trying to, and of course, we are essentially one of resources. If they cannot find them, they finally come to us and see if they ended up in our office, which actually, that's what we try to prevent.
Right.
So might not be a bad idea to kind of contact her, because there might be actually good source of that it could be a good source of information, because the point being is that they're trying to kind of figure out what are the opportunities that maybe are missed if their patients go back to the old ways or God forbid die, and then look for some prevention strategies to avoid that in the future. So I can send you the information if you want to, her contact information.
Yes, that would be great.
Yeah.
Are there any other connections like that you all are seeing? Any sort of contacts you all have of people you think might want to join us and our team, or maybe just have some sort of information we can cross-reference with? If you all think of any contacts or anyone that you would like me to reach out to, feel free to just send anybody my way. Is there anything else you all want to discuss today? I think that we've gotten a lot of really good information this month. I'm really happy with the progress we're making. I think that moving forward with these data systems and getting more agreements from you all has been really encouraging. I'm really excited to see the kind of information we're able to flesh out in the next couple months. I think that we're really going to get a lot of good information, and then we can kind of pull all that together as time goes on. Like I was saying, I think pulling some sort of quarterly information about the cases we reviewed thus far and give you all kind of like a written record so you can kind of see the trends that we're seeing just in this group particularly, and then just providing some of that larger scale data to you all as well. I think that that'll be a good use of our information and kind of maybe guide us in the direction for the future of some things we want to focus on. Thank you for the thumbs up, Brian. Does anyone have anything else?
Thank you for allowing me to sit in.
Of course. Nicole, do you have any questions for us or anything you want to ask?
I do not currently, but thank you.
Of course, thank you. Okay,
Good
great.
to see you, Nicole. Say hi to Marissa for me.
I will. Hi, Karen.
Well, our next meeting is going to be on April 8th at 3 o'clock. As of right now, that will still be virtual, but I will keep you all updated if anything changes on that. Again, continue to send along your data to me. If you have any issues receiving any of my information, or if you just need to contact me in any way, please feel free to call me, email me, reach out in any way. And then if you have any movement on your data sharing agreement, or if you need me to discuss any information with your office, please feel free to reach out as well. Does anyone have any other action items or other business for us? Okay, great. Well, there's my contact information again. Feel free to call me, send me an email if you need anything. And thank you all so much for being here today. I hope you all have a great rest of your afternoon. And I will now adjourn the meeting. Thank you all.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you.
Thank you.